Welcome everybody. This is webinar number 7. This is about Google Sheets, and this is just the basics version. We'll be doing an intermediate and advanced version later on. In this class, we're going to be going over how to create a CMA, which is a current mailing address, and how to format it, and going over some formatting tools. But the intermediate class will get more into like creating a budget, working with numbers and formulas and functions. So that's all down the road. So we'll be just creating a CMA today. I figure a lot of members either have seen a CMA or district reps have to create one. And I can show you some powerful tools by creating it as a spreadsheet. So Google Sheets is basically a cloud-based version of Excel. If you've ever used Microsoft Excel or maybe even Apple's Numbers program, this is Google's version, and you can work on it from any device. Even if you don't have internet access, there are still some functions you can do and features that you can use while you're offline, and then it will sync up when you're back online. So that's kind of a nice feature that you can use it wherever and whenever. And I'm going to start here in my basic kind of test account for anonymity purposes. But even if you were in your email, you could go to the top right here. It's our Google Apps Launcher. It's the little 9 squares, sort of looks like a Rubik's Cube. And I'm going to show you how to access Google Sheets. Click on it once, and there's the icon, and we can move this icon anywhere we feel we like to have it. If you use it a lot, you can have it near the top. If you don't use it very much at all, you can put it down near the bottom. I'm just going to keep it right there. And I just want to point out that this is also the way it looks if you want to download this app on your phone or device by going to Google Play Store or the App Store. You want to look for this icon so you know you're getting the correct app. And we're going to click on this once, and it'll take us to our Google Sheets homepage. And I'm going to show you 3 ways to create a new spreadsheet. And our first way is to go to this Google Sheets homepage and click just right here on this button or anywhere in this area to create a blank spreadsheet. You'll see the templates over here. Those we'll get into in the intermediate and advanced classes. So right now it's launching the program, and I'm just basically showing you ways to create a new sheet. That was the first way through our Google Apps Launcher. So I'm going to close out of this and show you another way. I've already got my Google Drive open on this tab over here. So if you're in your Google Drive, there's a new button. You can click on that and bring your mouse down to Google Sheets. You can either click right here or this little right arrow and choose blank spreadsheet. So I'm going to do that. Just click once. And again, that launches a blank spreadsheet for us. So that's the second way, is from that new button in your Google Drive. The third way to create a new spreadsheet is you can do it from within a spreadsheet. So I can go to this file menu here and then go down to new and over to spreadsheet, and I can just click that once, and it's automatically launching opening a second tab and launching a blank spreadsheet for us. So since I only need to be in one, I'm going to close out of this second one we created. I just want to go over 3 ways to create a new sheet. And this is the one we're going to work in, so I'm going to name it right away. I'm going to put my cursor there. I'm going to hit backspace, and I'm going to say this is District 14, not 41, 14 CMA. And I'm going to click out, and it's saving automatically. It says all changes saved in Drive. It says every change you make is automatically saved in Drive. Last edit was seconds ago. So there's no Control S or Command S that you need to hit because it saves anytime you make changes. The other nice thing is by naming your file or the spreadsheet, if we click in it, then we can see where it saved it. And if we want to change that, we could click on that, and it would give us options to move stuff to different files and folders. And I just want to point out that that is just, I'm going to close out of that. That is just if when you click in the name, it shows up. Because you see when I click out, it goes away. and then it just turns to a move to button, which gives you the same option, but I always thought that was handy to see where it's saved. And I'm gonna click out. So we're gonna do a little look here at the screen and just kind of explore a little bit. So to the right, it's a little faint on the screen right now, but there's a star, and this is just a toggle button. So when I click it, it turns yellow. Unclick, it goes back to transparent. But basically this means if you star it, then that would mean that this is an important document to you, and it goes into a section of your drive called starred. And I usually reserve that section for maybe 3 or 4 documents that are really important to me that I need to find right away. Over here is the green icon for Sheets, and if we clicked on this, it would take us back to that Sheets homepage with our blank sheet and possible templates to use. It doesn't quite look like a button, but it is. It would act like a button if I press it now. It would take us away from the sheet here and launch the other Sheets homepage, so I'm not going to click on it right now. And here we have our menu toolbar, and we won't be getting too much into this. We're going to be focusing more on this toolbar, which is for formatting, to show you what all these little things do. Over here is an activity kind of button. It says document editors can see your review history for this file. So if I click on it now, there's really nothing there because I have not shared this with anybody. But if I did, and if people had comments, or if I add comments to this spreadsheet, it would appear here. So we're going to close that. This next one over is a comment button. It says open comment history. So again, if we made comments, we could check out, or if other people made comments, we could see what they put here. Sometimes that's really good for sharing a document. And the share button, which we'll be getting into at the very end of the webinar. And if you need a more advanced webinar on this, check out webinar number 5, which is about Google Drive, because I get into the different sharing properties you can set. Well, this here is our account button. I'm not going to click on that because it will reveal an email address. Yours might have a different profile pic maybe, or a different initial in there. And all this stuff here that I'm scrolling down for is considered a side panel, which can take you to other programs. And I'm going to actually hide that by clicking down here. There's a little right arrow that says hide side panel. And I'm doing that just because I'd like to have a little bit more space. I don't really need to see those programs. But if I did want to show it again, I just click this button down here, these little arrows right and left. This button is an Explore button, and we don't have any data in our spreadsheet yet, but this is really good if you're working on a budget and you need maybe charts right away. It will try to read your spreadsheet and determine what you're looking for. So sometimes that can be fun to explore. We might look at that later in the intermediate and advanced classes, but not for this one, so I'm going to close it. Over here we have, we've only got one sheet open. If we had multiple ones, they would be lined up down here. Like say if it was a budget for January, February, March, April, if you had monthly tabs and sheets, that's where it would be. And this little down arrow right here allows us to make some changes to this sheet in this little tab. Right now I'm going to choose rename, but we can even change the color of the tab if we wanted. I'm going to choose rename. I like to just call this CMA, just to show you that's how you rename a sheet. And if we had multiple sheets, they would be all listed here and in a vertical row, or vertical column, I should say. And that's helpful when you have a whole bunch here. Maybe they don't all show up horizontally, but you can look at them vertically here, and they're easier to find. And here's where we go if we want to add a new sheet. And I'm not going to click on that yet. That we just are only going to focus on this one sheet, but that's where I would click to add a sheet. And you can see here I've got one cell highlighted already. This one is selected. It's got the blue border around it. And the important thing to know about terminology for a spreadsheet is the cell name. For instance, this one is considered A1 because it's from the column A and row number 1. It's always by letter first and then the number. So for example, this would be C4. And that'll come in handy in the advanced, in the intermediate and advanced classes. But I just wanted to get you familiar with that terminology. And that when I'm referencing a cell, I might reference it by its location name. And if we have a bunch of cells, it's considered a range. And we'll show you a little bit about that too as well. And if I type in information into this, I just have to click once. We're going to give this a header row. So my first column is going to be a pound sign or hashtag, however you want to look at it. It's really just going to be for a numbering system that I'm going to use. And the next one is I'm going to call it position, because we're going to put in like district rep or whatever the person's service position is. And we'll choose first name. And all I'm doing to advance to the next cell to the right is I'm hitting the tab button. And that way I don't have to move my cursor everywhere. I can just hit tab and fill these out really quickly. We'll do one for phone and email. We'll say home group. And let's say their WSO number for this column. So now we're going to say, okay, the first position is going to be district rep. And maybe that's Sally, and her last name is Jones. And her phone, just say 555 all the way down. Maybe her email is sally.jones@yahoo.com. And we'll say her home group is Courage to Be Me, G. And a WSO number of, let's say, 75435. And you can see some information here. It looks like it's cut off. But up here in our formula bar, we can see all of the information. And I'm going to show you a quick way to auto-fit the columns and rows, which will be able to show us everything. So I'm going to go down here and put the number 2. I'm going to show you a quick tip here, so we don't have to keep typing in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We can highlight, just click and drag, highlight those 2, and you'll see a blue handle at the bottom. And this is an autofill handle. And if it sees a pattern of numbers, it can autofill the rest of the numbers for you just by clicking and dragging and holding that down. And we're probably going too far. Let's see, maybe it'll go down to row 12 and release. And now you can see it filled in the numbers for us automatically. So now I'm going to fill in a few more positions here, like alternate district rep. And let's see, we'll do DISL, maybe treasurer. And maybe the rest can be GRs. And I'm going to autofill this, which is, again, getting that little blue handle at the bottom. Let's see if I can zoom in for you guys. Just by hitting Control plus is how I'm zooming in. And you can see the little blue handle, and once I have my cursor over it, it changed from a pointer to like a little crosshair. So I click that handle and I drag down. And let's say we'll go maybe down one more. And we'll see if that's enough, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the rest of this information just by copying and pasting the information from another spreadsheet, so you don't have to sit here and wait for me to type it all in. So I'm going to go to File and Open so I can get to that other spreadsheet. And I've got it in my starred section for quick access. I choose Webinar 7 data. We'll hit Open. And I'm going to show you a quick way to select a range. You can put your cell in the very first range that has data that you want, and then put your cursor over to the last range, the last cell that has data that you want. In this case, it's F8. And before I click it, I'm going to hold down my Shift key and then click it, and it automatically highlights all the information in the range that I'm looking for. And then I can go up to edit and I can copy, or if you're used to the shortcut, Control C or Command C, that's okay too. Choose that, go back to our other spreadsheet. And now that first place I want to import or paste this data is going to be in cell C3. And I can go back to edit and I can choose paste or the shortcut Control V if you're more comfortable with that. And so now we've got our information in and you don't have to wait for me to type it in. So now that we've got our data in, I'm noticing maybe we need to add in a secretary. And I'm going to insert a row, maybe between DISL and treasurer. So I'm going to choose row 5 just by clicking over here on the 5. That selects the whole row for me. And I'm going to choose right click. If you're on a Mac, it would be command click. And this gives us an option down here to insert one above. It's going to insert one row. So we'll do that. And you can see now it didn't recognize our numbers are set, but that's okay. We can change that. Now we're going to do secretary, and I'm going to misspell this on purpose. So I can show you a way to spell check. And so our numbers are messed up, so we'll just do a refill, autofill down to there, so we can renumber everything. And we've got some rows here that we do not need anymore. So I'm going to highlight those just by clicking and dragging down. And I can do a right click as well. And let me zoom out. Control minus is my zoom out. And we'll scroll down, and it's asking me if I want to delete rows 12 through 14, and that is correct because those are the ones I've got highlighted. So I'll delete those. All right, so we deleted our rows that we didn't need, and we have the data right now that we do need. And I was going to show you how to auto size or auto fit each row so we don't have information cutting off like this. Well, you put your cursor here, kind of in this box that has nothing in it, and doing that selects all the cells on the spreadsheet. And now we can put our cursor anywhere in between these two columns. Again, let me zoom in so you can see a little better. Because my cursor is going to change to something that looks like arrows to the left and arrows to the right. So if I double click, that's going to auto size this for me automatically. And you'll see all the data expand so it's visible to see. So I'm going to double click just twice, real quick. Click, click. And there you go. So now we can see all the email addresses clearly, even the long home group names clearly. So that's a quick way to auto fit your spreadsheet for the data that's in there. The other thing I want to do before we do any formatting is I'm going to add a title row. So this is my header row. Now I want to add a title to this whole spreadsheet. So I'm going to insert a row above number 1. So I chose 1, and I could do the right click if I wanted, or I could go, this is a different way to show you how to insert a row. Go to the insert menu and choose row above. There you go. And for this one, I'm going to say the title is going to be District 14 CMA. So this is what's going to print out when we do a little test print preview. So let's just start formatting. I'm going to go through these buttons here. So let me zoom out just a little bit more so you can see the whole row. There you go. Now you can see these other ones that showed up. And I'm actually going to start from this area and go this way. Then we'll come back to these. So I'm going to choose a different font. Right now I think I've just got Arial 10 font size. And I want this to affect all of this information here. So I could either select my cells that way, just clicking on a cell and holding down my mouse as I drag, or I could just select the whole row if I wanted. So let's say we'll select the whole row, and let's choose a bigger font like Tradewinds. And we want this to be really big, so we're going to choose font 18, so it really stands out. And again, we can do our auto fit. We select all the cells by hitting that one button and choose anywhere in between the columns. And there you go. And I know I don't need this one as big. It's auto-fitting that because it has this cell in there, this information in this cell. So I'm going to change just the size of this row here, column A. And I put my cursor here in between A and B, where I've got the left and right arrows, and I'm just going to scrunch that over by holding my mouse down and dragging to the left. And there you go, because I don't need that one as big. That's how to resize a column. And in a minute we're gonna, well, actually I can show you how to resize a row right now. I'm gonna make this trade winds as well. So let me go here, and I want that to be 18 as well. All right, now I'm gonna double that size a little bit so we have a much bigger space to work with for that title. So I'll show you a couple things with that. So let's keep moving on with the formatting. We're gonna do highlight this row. And actually we could probably do this one as well. I'm gonna hold shift and select both rows because I wanna have both of them be bold. So I'm clicking the bold, the B button here, and you notice they went bold. I'm gonna click on the italics button so they're slanted. This one is strike through. It looks like a little S with the strike through it. I'll show you what that looks like. There you go, strike through. And sometimes it's good for budget stuff if you need to strike through a number, but I'm going to take this off. It's just a toggle button, so I'm going to click it one more time because I do not want to have the strike through stuff in there. And I'm going to change the text color, maybe to red, so it kind of stands out. And this here next to that is, next to our text color is our fill color. Looks like a little bucket of paint. And I'm going to choose yellow because that will really make it stand out. And borders, we're going to get to that right before we print the document. And this next one, merge cells. Let's use that one on our title here. So I'm going to choose cell A1. And what I want is all of these to be one cell so that we can merge them and we can do more things with our title row. So I'm going to click merge cells. And so now if I click out into cell I1, you can see that that's one cell. And if I click over to F1, it's really now all one cell, which is what the merge cell button did, which is great. That's what we wanted. So we're going to now change the alignment. This is the next button over, horizontal alignment. And now that we've merged that, you can really see how this will look different. Right now it's defaulting to the left, but we'll do center, see what that looks like. And a right alignment obviously puts it to the right, but I'm going to choose center. I think center looks nice. The next one over is vertical align. Basically does the same thing, that moves it to the top. You can move it to the middle, move it to the bottom. And I think for now I'm going to maybe move it to the top for this one. We'll see how that looks. We might need to change it later on. This one here is text wrapping, which comes into play if you have a lot of text in your cell. So I'm going to double click into that cell and I'm going to type more information here. So we'll say this is for Florida North, I'm going to say lowercase that, Florida North, area 9, panel 58, let's say 2018 to 2021. And for that to, for us to use the text wrapping, I'm going to make this font just a little bit bigger. There we go. So now you can see it's cut off a little bit. And if we do text wrapping, this one here it's already set for overflow. That's what it defaults to look like it's cut off. And if we choose wrap, then you see it moves the information down a little bit. It wraps the text so it fits within the cell size. The other option over here is clip. And I've never used it. It looks the same to me as overflow. So I usually will put it to wrap. The next button here is for text rotation, and sometimes you can get a little creative with this. defaults right now to having text go left to right, and we can do a tilt up if we wanted, which looks a little wild there. And you have all these different options: tilt down, vertical. I believe that's vertical. Yeah, stack vertically. Doesn't quite look like it now, but if we stretched it out, it would. And rotate up, rotate down. These are, you can get a little crazy with these. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do tilt up, and I'm going to choose a rotation degree of not 45. I'm going to do maybe 7 degrees. Let's see how that looks. That looks a little better. Maybe now we can reduce the font size. Let's see if we can go back to 18. That looks a little better. I think maybe let's go for 20 and see how that looks. We can just type that in. There we go. That looks nice. And maybe we want that to have a little blue background, so I'm going to do that as a blue fill. All right. The other thing I'd like to show you is this button here for Insert Link. Now we've already had this cell selected here. We can see it's got the blue border around it. So if we have this cell selected and we want to have this maybe act like a hyperlink that someone can click on to go to maybe a district website, we could do that by, once you have the cell selected, click Insert Link. And so this is the text that they'll see. And down here can be the website address. And for this purpose, we'll just say, since there is no District 14, we'll just say AFG Area 9, go to our area website, and we'll say Apply. And you see it's changed to a hyperlink because it's now underlined, and it shows hyperlink up here that it would go to, as well as if we hover over it, then we have our little hand pointer over the link that has popped up. And if we click that, it goes to it'll automatically launch the area website, which is kind of nice. So we'll close that. So another nice thing to make this CMA interactive is you can do a hyperlink to email addresses. So if you wanted to click on sally.jones and send her a message by email, it would open up your email. And the way to do that is to have this cell selected, go up to your Insert Link button. And what we're going to do is we're going to highlight this whole email address so we don't have to retype it again, because there's room for error if we do that. And in here, the link is actually not going to be www. It's going to be mail to, it's all together. So MAIL and TO, no space, and a colon. And then we're going to do Control V, again, no space. Control V will paste in that email address of hers, and we'll choose Apply. So now it turns blue, and it's got the underline. So it shows it's a hyperlink, as well as my pointer goes from an arrow to the little, to a hand as well. There we go, there's the hand. And there's the hand pointer that shows us we're on a link. So if I click that, it will launch my mail, my Gmail, with, it even pops open a new message already that's addressed to her in my to-line. So it's kind of a nice feature. I'm going to close that. And so you'd have to select each one and do the insert link as well for each one. There is no autofill option to do that. It would be great, but note for that, you've got to tell it where to go for each one. So the next button over from the insert link button is insert comment. And let's select this cell over here for WSO number, because 84 seems like a kind of a low number. So maybe we need to double check that. We want to write a note to ourselves about that. So we're going to click insert comment, and we can just type in whatever we want to comment about this. So we'll say, double check this. And then we'll hit blue for posting comment. And now this comment, you'll see it when you hover over it, it pops up. When you're away from it, it won't show up. It just sort of looks like a yellow sort of triangle in the top right corner. But now that we have a comment, you'll also notice that it shows up down here. So if we had multiple comments in our spreadsheet, maybe from other people as well, they would pop up here and you could hover over this to see them. And also up to this comments button here. And there you go. If we had more, there would be a whole list of them here. So that's that comment button we were talking about earlier. The next one over the next button is insert chart. Again, we don't have any real number data in here to do a chart with. That'll be the next class. But I do want to show you how to create a filter, which is a really, to me, a powerful tool. So I'm going to scroll up to the top of my spreadsheet here. And I'm going to highlight the header row just to make it easy. And I'm going to hit this button for create a filter. And you'll see now that it's got these little green downward arrows for each column, and it's opening up information that it wants to know what we want to sort by. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to hit Control minus. And let's say we want to sort by first name, and we'll sort A through Z. And we have the asterisk before open, if this is a open position, since we don't have a secretary yet for this district. So that is kind of helpful because it will sort alphanumerically and then alphabetically. So that kind of helps to bring your attention to any open positions. And then there's our alphabetical listing. Again, say if you wanted to sort by maybe a home group name, you could sort over by home group name, A to Z, or sort by WSO number. And you can even sort by blanks. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Since right now we see that this person, our DSL, maybe they're looking for a new home group. They don't have a WSO number. So I'm going to click on this, and it's selecting all of these by default, but I'm going to say clear all those values. And I'm going to say just look for the ones that are blanks. And we'll say OK. So now it pulls up only the 2 records. We didn't lose our data, but you can see that that's all it's showing us. And that's the power of the filter, that we can just focus on the 2 that don't have WSO numbers, and we can make sure why. And in this case, it makes sense because we don't have a home group assigned for either of these. And the other thing I want to point out is you can see that it's filtering. This little icon looks a little different rather than just the downward arrow that we know that we're filtering by this column here, this category. And to turn the filter off, you can just go back up to turn off filter. And the reason why but you'll notice here, the reason why we put our numbers over here, because we had district rep at the top, is because it puts the spreadsheet back in a kind of the way it was last sorted. So we can always go back to sorting it by our number column here. So we can have our officers at the top if we want. And another way to sort is you can select your range, just hold down and drag. And this is just a different way to sort. You can go up to data. And because this is a range we're talking about now, we don't want to choose sort the sheet, because that'll take all the information on the top rows as well. We actually want to sort this range of just the cells we've selected. And we'll do by column A, which is definitely the one we're looking for with our number sign. And remember, it does, even though it says alphabetical A through Z, I know it'll do numbers first, so that is okay. And there you go. It sets it back to the way we had it with our officers and the GRs afterwards. All right. So that is basically our fancy CMA. I do want to show you that these buttons over here, the undo button, it could, if you made a mistake and you didn't mean to, you can hit this button. It's a little left facing arrow, or do Control Z. And by clicking that, it takes us to how the spreadsheet looked before. If we didn't mean to undo and we want to redo it, there's a redo button, right facing arrow, or you can hit Control Y or Command Y if you're on a Mac. We'll just do that to set the CMA back to the numerical 1 through 10. And the painter tool, that is if you really like all the formatting you did on a certain cell or anywhere and you want that everywhere, you can actually click on that formatting, and then click the painter format tool once. And let's say we'll change all the home groups to that format. So I'm going to select that all the way down and let go. And that changes the format. Doesn't look great, I don't think so, but we can always undo. But that's a quick way to extend formatting over a whole column if you want, or just certain cells, and you don't have to go through every single one and change the font and the size and blah 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 all over again. Just a quick way to do formatting. So I'm going to undo that by hitting the undo button. The zoom feature is, you've seen me doing the control plus to zoom in my screen, but it zooms in everything, even stuff up here. This, though, will only affect the cells on the spreadsheet. So let me scroll up and show you that. It defaults to 100. Hello, let me get over here. So it defaults to 100, and you can go up to 200, which will look crazy big, like that. But you can type in individual different numbers, like say if we wanted not 125 or 150, but we wanted 135, we just type that in and hit enter. So you can kind of customize your zoom level if you like. I'm going to go back to 100%. These ones here are the number format tools or formatting buttons. We do have some numbers over here in our WSO column, which I'll highlight all those and just run through these a little quick, that if these were dollar amounts, we could just format them real quickly as money. If they were percentages, you format them as percents. So here it's obviously trying to do its best to understand what we're looking for with percentages. And decreased decimal sizes can be helpful at times, or maybe you need more decimal sizes, decimal spaces. So every time you click it, it'll add another decimal spot. So we'll decrease all those back to maybe 0. And this one here is more formats. So you've got your number, your percent. You can even do an accounting number, all different types, date and time. Basically, this is going to affect anything that has a number in it. And we can get into those in the next classes. I just want to show you what those do. So I'll just go back to automatic for our WSO numbers. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more here to show you that if you have a bunch of information, if you scroll down, you'll see that the header row and title row also move away. And sometimes it's helpful to have those stay put, especially a header row. So we're going to freeze those top 2 rows, and I'm going to put my cursor on the 2 for row 2, and I'm going to go up to view, and there's an option for freeze, and it says freeze no rows, 1 row, 2 rows, and I'm just going to choose up to current row 2. And you'll notice that there's a very faint but gray line here that showed up, and that's going to be our position that shows where we're freezing these. Let's see if I can click out. You can see it maybe a little better. So now you'll see no matter how far I scroll down, our top 2 rows remain stable and do not move, which is really nice. All right, so that's how to freeze rows up in your view. And if you ever want to unfreeze them, you can choose no rows, and you'll watch that gray line there go away. We'll choose no rows. There it goes away. So now they're not frozen. So let's say we're getting ready now to print this. Maybe we want to print it as a PDF that we'll attach in an email to everybody. The first thing I would say is do a spell check just before you print and send something out. Always do a spell check. It's a good idea. So that is under the tools menu here, and then it's down under the fourth one down, spelling and spell check. And there it caught our original misspelling of secretary, and it's asking if we want to change it. And we'll say, yes, please definitely change it. And then no other spelling suggestions, so that's great. If we had other sheets, multiple sheets, we could ask it to search all of them at the same time. But we're just working on this one, so we'll close that. And you see over here, it's already changed secretary to correct spelling. So that spell check is under tools and spelling there. There's no real spell check button in your bar up here. So I just want to point that out. It's a good tip to, it has saved my butt many times, let's say it that way. So we'll go print, and let's hit the print button up here, see what this looks like. And holy moly, it looks very tiny. Need a magnifying glass to see it. We definitely don't want to send it out that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit cancel. And we want to tell it to select only or print only certain cells. So I'm going to click our main title row here. And again, using the quick tip to go over to the last cell that has data in it, hold down shift and click that. And that's a easier way for me than clicking and dragging, because sometimes I might click and drag data and I didn't want to do that. So that's my little tip there. So now we've got this range. It's cell A1 all the way down to H12. As we can see, there's the H12. So now let's go to our print button. And wait a second, it still looks the same, but that's okay, because we can go over here to print, and instead of current sheet, we can choose selected cells, and then it shows us A1, and this colon means through. It means it's indicating a range. So A1 through cell H12, and that's correct. That's what we want. So once we click that, now it looks a little better. We'll zoom in a little so you can see this. That's much better. Everybody can read everything. And then we can go to next. If it looks good, it's going to open up my print function here. And I have it set to default as save as PDF. You might have it set to a different printer. That's okay too. But if I hit save, it'll save as a PDF to my computer, and then I can attach that PDF and send it in an email. However, there's another way that you can get this out to everybody on the CMA, and that is to share it. Right now it's private only to me. So we can select all their email addresses, and again, I just did that by clicking on that top cell. I hold down shift key and I clicked on the last cell, got my range here, and I'm gonna do copy up here in the edit menu. It's got a little dash line around the whole range because it's copying everything. And I want to do that first because when I go up to share, and I personally like to go to advanced right away, and there's where I can invite the people, and I can just do Control V, which is the shortcut for paste, and there's all the email addresses. And these are all made up email addresses. They're not real, just so you know. So I'm not gonna hit send, but because maybe they are real, I don't know. But I just made them up. But you could say, here's the CMA. Please let me know if any changes are needed. And of course, I always send a copy to myself just as a backup. And what I'm going to do is I don't want anybody else to edit these files directly. I just want them to only make a comment if there's something that needs to be changed. So I'm going to give them comment privileges only. If you wanted to make it a little tighter restriction where they can't even comment, they just can view, then you could choose view. But I would probably, if it were me, I'd probably send it out so they can make comments. And I believe that's how our area CMA is sent out by our area secretary. And then I would hit send, and it would notify me. Like some of these are Yahoo emails, some Hotmail, some iCloud. So it would notify me that, hey, some of these are not Gmail accounts. They're not within the Google kind of universe. So they would need to sign up for a Google account within 14 days, I think is the criteria, so they can access this Google spreadsheet. Now, I do want to say that they don't have to create a separate Gmail address. Like say if Thomas Brown wanted to keep his iCloud.com address, that's fine, because a Google account is different than a Gmail address. So you can use whatever address you're used to using, whatever password you're used to using, and you can still sign into a Google account. You do have a little limited restrictions, but at least you could still interact with this spreadsheet. You can make the comments if you had to change something about your information. So it is possible to send to external addresses, is what Gmail would consider Yahoo or AOL. It is possible. So, but right now I'm going to hit cancel because we don't want to send this out to somebody in case these are real addresses. And in the last few minutes, let me just, to get rid of this copy here, this dash line, I'm going to hit the escape key, and that makes it go away. Lastly, a few little last tips. If you're ever in a bind, always go to the help menu and go to Sheets Help, and you can type in whatever you're looking for, like how to delete a column, and it'll pop up the information that is really helpful. It's just for Google Sheets only, and it'll tell you how to make the change on an Android. Well, obviously, apparently it's not available on Android. You'd have to use a laptop. But if it did have options for stuff you could do on iPhone, iPad that was different than an Android, all that information would pop up, which is kind of nice. So yeah, there's apparently some stuff that right now the app does not let you do. So you do have full functions, though, if you are on a laptop or the desktop version, I should say, of this program, and that's what I'm on right now for this webinar. So if you have any issues using it on your phone or device because you're using the app-based version and you need help, try checking out that help menu and go to Sheets Help, because maybe it's something that can't be done. I had that issue come up with some footers that could only be changed in the desktop version. So the last two tips I want to give you that I think have always helped me out as well is the Control F feature, which is, or Command F if you're on a Mac, and F for the word find. And it pops here, it says find in sheet. I'm going to zoom in there a little bit. And this will help if you have a lot of, maybe a word, keyword you're trying to look for, and you know it's in the spreadsheet somewhere. Like say if I'm looking for John, where does John appear? I can type in John and it shows me it's showed up 4 times, 1 of 4. It highlights the cells down here in green. But it also, if I click this button here, the down arrow, it shows me the next one and the next one and cycles through all of them. So I just love using that Control F feature. I'm going to close that. The other thing I wanted to show you is I showed you the print button here. There's also an option to print under the file menu, and it's called download as. And you could download this file as an Excel file. You could download it as a PDF here. And these other options, I don't use too much. It's really rare that I would do that. But that's another way to send or create a PDF. And you would have to go through the same steps as well as far as setting your selected cells, your range, because right now it's still stuck on that one we use on the Control F feature. So I'm going to cancel that. Also, what I wanted to point out as a tip, there's an option as email as attachment, and I have not had too much luck with this feature. It attaches it as a PDF, but you see here we have only these 2 options, but it doesn't allow me to change the selected range that the PDF is printing. So I would really need to make sure my PDF was exactly how I needed it to look. And sometimes I might not do that in advance. I might just, it's going to select whatever it thinks we want to have it look like. Maybe that little tiny magnifying look or the tiny print look. And so I have not had too much luck with this. It's very sparse. There's no signature saying that it's coming from me. So my tip is, until maybe Google enhances this a little better, I would Me personally, I stay away from it, and I do the download as, or I do a print button and save as PDF. There we go, the print button, and set all my settings over here, and basically save it to my drive as a PDF, and then attach that email. So I showed you ways to print, ways to download, ways to share this document, and what I do want to show you now is the borders button that I mentioned we were going to come back to during the printing process. I kind of forgot, so let me just get that in right now. So let's say we're going to draw a border around the GRs. So I'm going to say, let's click this one, B8, and all the way down over to the last cell for my GRs. And that's H12. I'm holding down my shift key, clicking once. And now I can go up to my borders button. And once I click on that, it opens up different options for different types of borders we could have. We could have all the cells, have borders in between, which they are now. We'd have no borders. And I'm going to choose this one here where it just sort of looks like a box around them. And I'm going to choose a red box with a little thicker line. And now you can see our GRs are highlighted. So this is great before printing if you need to highlight something in a spreadsheet. Because now if we choose all our cells to print, we'll choose our A1, hold down Shift, choose H12. We'll go look at that. We'll do our print selected cells. And we'll zoom in and you can see just visually there's our GRs with a red border around it. So that's what the border button does. I'm going to cancel that. It's very good visually. I usually just use the borders for printing right before printing. For example, if the borders are there and I do a filter, turn my filter on and I start doing sorting, let's say we'll sort those Z by A, then it sort of doesn't make sense anymore because you can see that those aren't all GRs anymore. So I'm going to do undo. I'm going to take that filter off. So like I said, I just use the borders when I'm ready to print, maybe when it's a finalized document that I know is not going to be going through any filtering or sorting. That's my tip there. So that covers everything I wanted to cover in this webinar for Google Sheets Basics. If there's something that I didn't cover or you want me to redo to see that tip one more time, let me know. And if you have any questions, now's the time for any questions. You're right. That's a good point. This is a CMA. It's for current mailing addresses, and we don't have anything in here for addresses. We have email addresses, but not physical addresses. So let's add those in as another column. We'll add those in after the emails. So we'll go to the G column and highlight that. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to say insert one to the left of this column G. So that'll open up a column right in between email and home group. And we'll call this address. Let's say she lives at 12345 AFG Way. Now, if I hit enter, it's actually going to take me to the next cell down. And that's actually not what we want. We want another line within this cell here. So I've double clicked. So I get my blinking cursor after the word way. And now to get that separate line within that same cell, I'm going to hold down my Alt key on my keyboard. And while I'm holding my Alt key down, I'm going to hit the Enter key. And then I get that separate line. And I can type in the city, let's say Virginia Beach. And I don't know the zip, but we'll just say 12345. And now if I click out, then you can see it's got the address in there. And if we need to do a separate line for anything else, just double click in there, get that blinking cursor, Alt and Enter at the same time. And there you go. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And again, if there's something I haven't covered or if you still have a question about, please feel free to contact me. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.